Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Ethical Court.
All rise. This court is in session. The Honorable Judge Francis D. Williams presides.
May be seated. Will the prosecutor please rise for the opening statement?
Yes, Your Honor. Your Honor, members of the court, permit me to ask you, just for a second, to close your eyes. I want to invoke your imagination for a second. I want to summon just a few of your senses just for a moment. And I want you to imagine living in your home and leaving, and when you return, someone has knocked down your house and has served you what seems to be an eviction notice and is telling you that you have to leave your home. Imagine, as an Asian American, someone forcing you to live in a concentration camp when you are yourself a United States citizen. Imagine being separated from your family. Imagine, as a woman, having your body just objectified. Imagine, as an African American, living in the reality that today can be your last day because of the racism that still exists. Won't you imagine? Your Honor, members of the court, we are here today to put our opposers on trial for a series of hate crimes against, but not limited to, the following ethnicities: Asian Americans, African Americans, women, and Native Americans. Thank you.
Will the defendant please rise for the opening statement?
Your Honor, and the members of the court, today my clients, the oppressive force, have been put on trial for what I like to say is, I don't even know why we're here. You know, we've been blamed for things, and the members of the body have not even had their hands involved in. You know, recently we experienced some shootings in Las Vegas. And it's amazing how we get blamed for everything. But I just wonder, was it a racially motivated operation when it was blacks and whites and Asians all in Las Vegas? Was it the white man then? I'm also reminded of another instance here in America called Hurricane Katrina. Let me guess. It's the white man's fault as well. Honestly, I don't know why we're here, Your Honor. The members of what they call white supremacy, it just seems like it's a conspiracy theory. But we are willing and able to prove our case today to you and also the members of this courtroom. Thank you.
The prosecution is called the witness.
Yes, Your Honor. The prosecution would like to call our first witness in the person of Mr. Regis Hale.
Raise your hand. You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God? Please be seated.
Mr. Hale, as an Asian American, how would you recall the events? And how do you feel knowing that you were separated from your family just simply because you look like a terrorist?
I feel very pissed off. I feel pissed off because on February 19th, 1942, President Franklin Roosevelt signed an executive order which caused all of Asian Americans to be put in concentration camps. He had 120,000 into concentration camps, and out of that 120,000, 77,000 were citizens. And as I'm looking at it, I'm a citizen, but because of the color of my skin and what I look like, I'm not allowed to stay in this country, which I have always known as the land of opportunity.
You said 120,000, and 77,000 of them were United States citizens. You know, the defense tried to argue that you were provided food, you were provided shelter. So it's okay if we stuff you in barracks, 3 to a person. It's okay if many of you die, as long as we provide you with food and a little water and a little shelter. Could you just tell of the experience of what it might have been living in a concentration camp?
It was very horrible. It was where we were not paid. We had bad food, bad everything. And even though we had shelter and food and living spaces, that was not good shelter, good food. We were served horrible food.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Hill. Your witness.
Mr. Hell, have you ever had visitors come over your house?
Yes.
How often do you allow someone into your home that you don't know?
Not a lot.
Not a lot. Have you ever allowed a stranger in your home?
Sometimes I have.
Could you tell me that experience, please?
If they are a friend of a friend, if a friend can vouch for them and say that they are like a good person, but if I don't know you, or if you come late at night, I will probably not open the door.
Okay, so a complete stranger you've never allowed in your home. Okay. Now, you said that if it's a friend of a friend, you would allow them in the home. But what if you knew that that friend was someone who was a thief, was someone who had the ability to kill?
Your Honor, we object. Is the defense arguing that Asian Americans are thieves and somehow killers?
Your Honor, I never said a specific race. I'm asking you a question about someone that he would allow in his home.
Your Honor, we move to ask the defense to push through and get to that question, please.
Counsel, get your question.
Thank you.
Would you allow someone that is a killer or a murderer in your house? So why would you feel that it's okay for someone to fit a profile of a killer or a murderer to be in what you should call your home?
Because that is my point of view. That is the way that I was raised.
So the way you were raised and your point of view is valid, correct?
Correct.
And so if the opposite side feels safer in their home, the place where they're supposed to sleep and eat and take rest, and they feel that an opposing force could be near and dear to their children and their possessions, why not seclude them for a moment of time? Because you said you provided shelter, food, and water. Seclude them for a period of time
until you can figure out the alliance of the trust. Wouldn't you do that?
Yeah, because even that was not a good show. That was a bad show. Because things-
Would you be able to provide the court with the evidence of the type of shelter that you have today? Yes or no?
Your Honor, the prosecution has provided evidence, and our next witness, we will provide such evidence to back up Mr. Hale's claim.
No further questions.
Your Honor, the prosecution would now would like to call Mr. Howard Tom to the stand.
Raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Please be seated.
Mr. Howard, just for the record, would you mind restating your name and where you were born?
My name is Howard Tom. I was born in Oregon.
You were born in Oregon,
Oregon State.
so you are an American of Asian descent. Is that
Yes.
correct? Awesome. So would you say that during the times of the concentration camps, there were many more born American who were born on United States soil, but because they were born of Asian descent, they were forced into concentration camps simply because of how they looked?
It is not just simply because they look, it's because of white supremacy is the practice of economic exploitation. I would say because we are good at doing business, we live in a community, we build houses, churches, schools. We have our own business.
Mr. Tom, the defense will argue that the exercise of putting them in concentration camps was just simply because they weren't sure of your alliance. It was not racially motivated, they just weren't sure of your alliance. But here's an image that depicts what seems to be more than just not sure of your alliance. Japs, referring to Japanese people, which we all know that all Asians weren't all from Japan. Japs, keep moving. This is a white man's neighborhood. How can one look at this and say it's not racially motivated? How, Mr. Tom, how do you feel looking at that?
This is humiliation. It's marginalizing. It's actually it's oppressive. This is really oppressive to a minority, particularly Asian American and Japanese.
Jobs, keep moving. This is a white man's neighborhood. Your witness.
Could you please state your name again for the record? I had a hard time understanding.
My name is Howard Tom.
Now, Tom, may I ask your nationality? Are you Japanese?
I am Asian American.
Are you
Yeah,
Japanese?
this is my country.
Are you Japanese?
I am Japanese.
Okay. And do you ever remember experiencing seeing these signs? Were you told this, or did you actually experience this?
My fathers, my great-grandfathers, they all experienced. It's still true, and it still exists. The pain, I still carry the pain.
You carry the pain from what they told you, what you experienced.
Experience. Still, as a minority, I've been experiencing.
As the minority, weren't your people given some type of reparation for what they went through? Like $20,000 or so?
Your Honor, we object. It's the defense arguing that a 20-year reparation that came 60 years later is valid for the pain that they felt. 60 years.
Your Honor, they talk about white supremacy, but it looks as if that the Asian American community has gotten more than your counterparts. Would you not agree? They got their 40 acres and a mule, but you got $20,000.
If we look at those laws, especially the time, the money is nothing compared to the time we lost, because we can make, yeah, of course, we can make money.
What's the most valuable thing to you?
The most valuable thing we lost is time. We lost.
So time was more valuable than your family?
The family.
Time is more valuable than family to you?
Time is money. Time is life.
So time is money, but you got money back. So is it time or is it money that you want?
The money is nothing compared to what we lost.
That's the most valuable thing to you is
Yes.
the time, not your family.
My family.
Your Honor, does the defense have a point? My client has already answered the question. In his opinion, time is more valuable than money. Can the prosecution get to the defense get to the point? I'll sit down, please.
Simply, if time is more valuable than your family, then did you not get to experience your family during the concentration camps? Were you not with your people? Were you separated from anyone? Didn't you migrate and travel together? And just last thing, when it comes to, it looks like there's a little bit of Asian supremacy because when have I ever, or anyone in the court ever went to an Asian restaurant or one of those hair places that you all go to? I've never seen anyone else but you people in your own establishments. But you're crying equality.
As Asian American, we've been oppressed. Equality means treating each other equal. So if we look back our history, from the 16th, in fact, from as early as 1635, we've been here, we saw on those civil wars, and we saw and we fight for this country. What our contribution and all this. So now, when the white supreme, the white cultures, as we experience, is they marginalize or trying to alienate Asian Americans.
Mr. Halton,
This is injustice.
Mr. Halton, my question to you was why I don't see your counterparts in your facilities. Since if you're so together and if you're so
Your Honor, we
tight,
object.
why
My
haven't I
client,
ever seen
Your
those
Honor,
people
Your Honor,
in your
we
facilities?
object. My client has answered the question to the best of his ability.
He hasn't
Now
answered
the
the
defense is
question.
just badgering my witness.
He has not answered the question directly. Why
The
have I
defense
never
is
seen
just
one of
now
his counterparts
badgering.
in his facilities? Could you answer that, please? Do you only stick with your own people? And why are you on the same side with them? No further questions, Your Honor.
Yes, sir, Your Honor. We would now like to call Mr. Delvin Washington to the stand.
Raise your hand. You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Mr. Washington, as a Native American, the defense will claim that somehow by taking your life, by stealing from you, they somehow made your life better. Kelly Brown Douglas, an author in the novel Stand Your Ground, she argues this theme of an immigrant paradox, of how America itself as a nation is of immigrants. So how do you feel as a Native American that your land was just taken from you? How does that make you feel?
Well, I feel betrayed, and for your question as me being a statement rather, I
I feel like this is my home. I feel that European and Scottish community, they intruded. And we offered, we were friendly. We gave them certain means of living. We taught them the 3 sisters of farming, corn, squash, and beans. We taught them hygiene. So I feel as though we portrayed, and it's disheartening.
Betrayal. Your witness.
Mr. Washington, may I ask you what Native American tribe you're from?
Choctaw. My name, by the way, is Delton Shola Washington. I'm a Choctaw descendant.
Do you mind if I call you Mr. Washington?
That's fine.
That's the only thing I can understand.
Your Honor, we feel as if the defense slanders, even towards the former witness, are beginning to become a little too much. The defense should stick to the point and not run around the bush making fun about names that he cannot pronounce.
My apologies if I offended you, Mr. Washington. You're on the stand today speaking on behalf of, would it be okay to say the other tribes? Do you feel a connection between like the Cherokee and the Navajo tribes?
Of course I do.
Okay, and you said that it felt like an invasion upon your people, betrayal. But if it's a betrayal, then was there ever a partnership? It seems like there's some type of relationship for a betrayal to actually happen.
Well, the only connection with the partnership was, to my recollection from my forefathers and grandfathers, they told me a story of a man named John Ross.
Okay.
Okay? And he was, at that time, Cherokee chief.
Mm-hmm.
By way of state of Alabama, that's where he was born.
Okay.
His mother was Scottish, by way of Tennessee,
Okay.
where we live right now.
Okay.
So that's where
The partnership came from.
I wouldn't say partnership, that's where the deceit came from.
I did just hear you say the partnership come from. And if you don't mind, from your fearless leader of the Cherokee tribe, from this Chief John Ross, in this letter, our hearts are sickened, if I may present to the court, it says, we have learned your religion also. We have read your sacred books. Hundreds of our people have embraced their doctrine, practiced their virtues that they teach, cherished the hopes they awaken, and rejoice in the consolations which they afford. I'm sorry, but that sounds like a partnership. It sounds like you subscribe to a way of life from someone that now is someone against you, who's oppressing you.
Your Honor, we object. I'm pretty sure if the defense would read further in his article, he would see where the agreement was indeed broken. So the defendant is now picking pockets around an article. If you read fully, he would see that they broke the agreement that was in black and white.
Your Honor, all I'm doing is reading in black and white. What it says, you practice their religion, you read their sacred books, and you subscribe to a way of life. Not only did you subscribe to their practicing their religions, but you also took upon this thing called slavery.
Yes, but it was called chattel slavery. You know what that is, sir?
Please explain to the court what it
Chattel
is.
slavery is a slavery where one is owed due to a service or a loan or whatever that was rendered. And depending on the amount or the magnitude of the agreement, it extends from the generation to generation. So it was a concept, it was a purpose for the slavery.
During that time, what slave wanted to be a slave? Can you honestly answer
No
me that
one wants
question?
to be a slave.
And why did you have them? Your chief leader.
Why did you have slaves? What was your aim to have slaves?
I've never had slaves. I'm representing the people that you accuse.
You're representing your people that you're accusing me of. And by the way, sir,
Your Honor, am I answering the questions?
Witness, would you cooperate with the counsel?
Yes, sir, I'm not.
Again, my question, who wants to be a slave?
No
Would you
one.
want to be a slave?
No, sir, I wouldn't.
And so your very own people have enslaved people that are supposed to be your
Your Honor, we
counterparts.
object. My client has answered to the reason as to why they had slaves. It was a generational debt. It was not slave to have slaves.
Mr. Washington, do you feel it was justified that they had slaves? Ethically and morally, do you feel it's justified that your people had slaves?
Yes, I do.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Prosecution, bring the next witness to the stand.
The prosecution would now like to call Mr. Aaron Boley to the stand, please.
Raise your hand. Swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Please be seated.
Mr. Boley, as a Native American, defense would argue that you took on many of their practices, that they gave you casinos, they gave you a modern way of life, and somehow your trail of tears should somehow be some victorious life. Would you just care to explain to the court how the Trail of Tears really is indeed a Trail of Tears?
Well, when people are taking advantage of it, the whole concept of living and civilization, it didn't mesh with ours. They came promising this better life and this better way of living, but we didn't want it. So they forcefully imposed those things on us.
One final question, Mr. Boley. If you and anyone, you and I went into a contractual agreement and I somehow broke that contractual agreement, would you consider that to be betrayal?
Yes, I would.
Betrayal. Your witness.
Mr. Boley, you want to tell me what you do for a living?
I'm a welder.
You are a welder. And on your job, is there ever a moment of training for you to learn the concept so that you can practice the job and then get paid? Is that the way you work?
At first, I did, yes.
Okay, so they taught you the job and they showed you a way that you could make money for yourself, correct?
Yes.
Are you appreciative of that training today at your job?
Yes, I am.
It's a good thing for you, right?
Yes.
Okay, and so with that, isn't it true that not only did the natives benefit the Spaniards, but you did learn a few things from the Spaniards, right?
Yes.
Taught you principles, showed you how to work and make it for yourself, and then provided land of the Lord from the Midwest to the Pacific, correct? So how could that not be victorious? You learned practices and principles and concepts and gave you an opportunity for a new world, but you claim that it's a trail of tears. Is that not victorious? You've learned a practice, you've learned a trade, and you've been given land to possess. How is that not victorious? Please explain to me as a court. You've learned a trade and you have land to go and do whatever you want to with. No further questions, Your Honor.
Prosecution, another witness.
I'd like to call Bruce Smith to the stand.
Raise your right hand. Swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Please be seated.
Ms. Smith, I would like to ask you, how does it feel to be a black woman in America?
Black woman in America, it's a struggle, different from a white woman in America.
Ms. Smith, happened to be, have been raised, most of the women all of my life took care of me, and they worked. And they did so many things, more than men did. It's always there, they worked, and they took care of us. They were not able to just do one role, but they were able to do multiple roles. And we're all here only because of the role of women. How does it feel to be the main role of helping people to succeed, but to be looked at as less than because of your sex?
That's heartbreaking. Women are belittled. We're beneath. We're always the downfall. But yet, how you have named so many roles that we play in the lives of men. Not just our husbands, but just men, period. For example, women bleed and don't die. We make soft things hard. We're women. Like, we're magic, especially black women. We're magic.
Isn't that amazing that the role of the most important is viewed as the least, only because you're a woman? Maybe it's because men are afraid that if you get the role, they will become unimportant.
Can you please state your name for the court?
Brooke Smith.
Brooke Smith. And what do you do for a living?
I work at the YMCA.
Work at the YMCA? You feel like you're successful at the YMCA?
I do.
You do? Okay. So you say it's hard for black women to be successful in this country?
Yes, it's hard, but
Is it impossible?
it's not impossible.
Okay.
It's hard.
So with this whole oppression thing, are you familiar with Oprah Winfrey?
Yes,
Do you consider her successful?
yes,
Okay. You know she's a black woman, right?
right.
Do you feel like she had the same opportunities as yourself?
It was different back then.
I'm talking today.
Oh, well, yes,
So you think she has a different set of opportunities that you are not privy to?
well, she had different barriers than what I would have to go through to be as successful as her.
Are you not able to be as successful as her?
I can, if I keep striving
So
like
you
she
can.
did.
So you can. So
I
you're
object,
not,
Your
so
Honor.
you don't
I
feel.
object, Your Honor. He's basically trying to make a comparison that just because of one black woman, it speaks for a large category. And also, Winfrey also had to deal with it, which is why she quit her first job because of how they treated her as a woman.
The statement here is, she made a statement that it's hard for black women. I am proving that it is not hard for all black women, and it's not hard for all white women as well. So therefore, because
That's false.
oppression, I asked the question. Oppression says that you are not able, or that you are incapable of doing something, right?
Right.
So if Oprah Winfrey was able to make it, why do you feel that you can't make it?
Well, she's still oppressed. Just because she's successful doesn't mean she's not oppressed. She still experienced racism. In 2013, she was in Switzerland and she went into a store and the person that was supposed to be, helping her if she needed help shopping, refused her service because they thought she couldn't pay for the purse. She's a billionaire. Do y'all know how rich Oprah Winfrey is? And she
Thank you so much. You said she's rich.
Right.
You said she's
Wealthy.
rich, which means she's made it.
Successful.
She's wealthy, she made it.
Right.
Oppression didn't hold her down, did it?
Yes, but
No?
she was refused
Answer the
service.
question, yes or no?
Refused service.
Answer the question, yes or no?
Yes,
I
but she was refused
I
service.
object, Your Honor. Oppression has nothing to do with what he's saying it has to do with. Oppression has to do with harsh treatment due by counterparts of a high class, higher party.
Can black people be oppressed?
No,
Why not?
because we're not as secure as white people in today's society.
The definition your counsel just so lovely gave is that oppression is harsh treatment.
Right.
Can black people not give harsh treatment?
Yes,
Alright,
we can.
Your Honor, she already answered the question.
All right, yes.
Sergeant, I do feel, as I look at this, oppression is subject to harsh treatment or authoritative treatment. So you're saying that a black person is unable to give oppression based on what?
I object, Your Honor. She
That's
already
a new
answered the
question, Your Honor. That's a new question.
All you did was reword reworded it. I already
That is a
answered
new
that
question.
question, thank you.
Based on what? Why cannot a black person be oppressed?
Like I said before, we're not as superior as white people in today's society. I already answered that question, thank you.
First of all, I asked the questions. You do know the president is a black man, right?
He was
The black,
Obama.
okay, I give you that.
Right.
The 44th president was a black man. Is that
Yes,
correct? You
yes.
think that's the highest office in the land?
Yes, in the United
Okay.
States.
Thank you. No further questions.
Does the prosecution have another witness?
Yes, would like to call Ms. Sydney to the stand.
Raise your right hand. Swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. Please proceed.
Hello, Sydney, how are you today?
I'm great.
That's great. Sydney, what kind of job do you have? You're a teacher. You're a teacher. Do you feel as if you're treated less by men in your work field?
On some days, yes.
So how does it feel, Sydney, to be overqualified, to be better, to be more educated, to be all of those things, and to still be paid less, not because you're not good enough, not because you don't have the credentials, but all because you're a woman?
It's something that's extremely agitating because it's not only because men feel like they're, above women because of like patriarchy and things like that, but a lot of men lean on nationalism. It's for our country. We're supposed to be the leaders of who we are, of what we do. We're the leaders of this force, and so we need you to fall in behind us. So it goes from all the way from the Bible to nationalism to patriarchy, and it's something that's extremely aggravating because you're not only overcoming one force, you're overcoming multiple forces.
Overcoming forces, all because you're a woman. Least pay has the least loss in your lifetime. Not because you're not good enough, not because you're not educated, but only because you're a woman. No further questions.
Are you familiar with the mayor that is now in Atlanta, Georgia?
I'm not.
Okay, it is a black woman that is the mayor now in Atlanta, Georgia. You say you work as a school teacher, right? Okay. How do you like the job?
It's okay.
Pretty good? Okay. Your counsel said that you are overqualified and underpaid. Is that correct?
Correct.
Are you able to find another job?
Just because I'm able to find another job doesn't mean that I'll pay more.
Are you able to find another job?
What
That's a yes or no
pay?
question. Are you able to find
Have
another
Jake
job?
Garner, she asked the question.
Your Honor, she did not answer the question. Yes or no, are you able to find another job?
Sure.
Then why don't you?
Because it wouldn't necessarily change the pay or the environment that I'm in.
So then staying in your current position, would that be your choice?
I guess so.
Okay, thank you. No further questions.
Thank you. Let's see. Does the prosecution have another witness?
I would like to bring Mr. Powell.
Raise your right hand. Swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Please proceed.
Mr. Cowley, we know that you have a lot of experience have went through a lot of racism and segregation in the South. Tell us a little bit about being a black man in the South.
You was given a place. You was kind of told where you could go, where you couldn't go. If you lived on a certain side of the city, which was considered the black side, you wasn't allowed to go to the white side. In our schools, growing up, we had an all-black school that was actually closed because the principal itself said that the black kids weren't able to get the education that they needed at the school. after going into a white school, some of the blacks felt that they still didn't get the education that was needed. If you were a good athlete in school, you was passed on through. If you wasn't an athlete, you was looked at as just somebody there just filling the spot, basically.
So you were viewed not by who you are, but what you could do for the benefits
Yes.
of the white man.
Yes, it always seemed that they made a point to better themselves by riding our backs. In other words, if I was a good football player, I could be as dumb as a rock, but as long as the school was winning, I was good.
So in one way, it was like we were a big investment
Exactly.
for the betterment of their
Yes.
life. So, dealing with all the things that you dealt with growing up, how did you struggle with those things psychologically?
It's hard. It's hard. Believing that being told that you will never be anything, that you will never go anywhere, your life is right where it's at. You work in a factory or go to jail. If you're lucky, go in the military. But being told that you were never going to be anything, that's mind-boggling.
What kind of jobs did black men work in the South compared to white?
Well, in my hometown, it was factories. Both black and white worked in factories. But it always appeared, and then also you had sharecropping, which a lot of white, black did during that time. And in sharecropping, they was actually working for someone else.
So do you feel as if black men were treated differently in these factory jobs than white men?
I can't say for me, because I never worked in one. So I can't really say.
No further questions.
Mr. Kyle,
Yes, sir.
what year was you born?
1957.
1957? Okay, during that time was segregation, black people had sit on the back of the bus. Did you agree?
Yes.
Okay. Those laws have changed. Would you agree?
Yes.
Okay, so that sounds like progression, right?
Yes.
Okay. Black people just have to sit on the bus, at the back of the bus. Have you ever seen a black bus driver?
There's black bus drivers today, yes.
So there is a lot of progression going on. You talked about black people being used for benefit, in that nature. If a business owner hired some black people, do you think he expects to benefit from their work?
Yes.
Okay, so then that would be business. Would you agree?
That would be capitalism.
Capitalism, right. Okay, you want to make money off of in your business, right?
You want to make money off the sweats of the people that you hire.
Exactly. Okay. So you talked about how it appears that whites treat others. Is that correct?
You got me. Say it
You
again.
talked about how it appears whites treat others. Is that correct, or did I misunderstand you?
Yes.
I misunderstood you?
No.
Okay.
Answer yes.
Absolutely. Okay. So then appearance could also be wrong. Because the way things appear may not be the way things are. Would you agree?
No.
No?
No.
Okay, explain.
For instance, Trayvon Martin was walking away from a store with Arizona and a bag of Skittles. And because he had on a hoodie, it appeared that he was something that he wasn't, and was approached and killed. So, appearance? No.
Have you ever seen a bank robber wear a hoodie in the middle of a bank robbery?
I've never seen a bank robbery, no.
You never seen a bank robbery?
I've
You
never
seen
been.
footage of a bank robbery with a guy on the camera wearing a hoodie and a mask?
The
and a gun?
majority of the bank robbers that they show on TV are white men, and they are unhooded.
Are you sure?
Yes.
You
The
sure?
last one that they just had.
Because there are cases of black people that have gone in to rob banks without hoods or with hoods. With
That wasn't
masks
that
or
wasn't
without
a question.
question is, what I'm getting at is, you saying appearance, how things appear. Just because one has
Your Honor, we object. Is the defense arguing somehow that racial profiling based on a hoodie is acceptable?
No, we're not, I am arguing that appearance is not always factual. That is what I'm arguing. Just because Trayvon Martin had on a hood, and he appeared to be a certain way, right? Okay, so if Zimmerman took Trayvon Martin, because there was something going on in the neighborhood, and he fit that appearance, that description, do you not think it was right for him to call the police and to have this young man checked out?
If that had been what he done, he took it into his own hands based on appearance.
How do you
Of
know?
what?
Are you speaking for Zimmerman?
Well, the evidence points that way. And
Are you speaking for
no, I
him?
cannot speak for him. However, you asked me a question about appearance.
Okay,
Let me
so,
speak from my own experience of appearance.
so then before we say what Zimmerman is thinking, let's keep it to ourselves and what we would think. Would that be fair to say?
I would say that based on what he saw,
Based on what he saw,
he saw.
that would still be opinion because you cannot speak for him. So that's
And I'm
correct.
objecting, Your Honor, there's a substantial evidence of what Zimmerman said in the actual trial, many things. One, for instance, when he saw Trayvon, he said, "These punks."
We are still talking about appearance. You can be technically a punk with or without a hood. So my question is
These
still,
punks.
my question is still, my statement is we cannot speak for Zimmerman. We do not know what he was thinking. Would you agree?
Your Honor, we object. Is the defense
No further
arguing
questions.
appearance or speaking for George Zimmerman?
Your client brought up appearance, and I argued that. No further questions.
Does the prosecution have a yes?
We'd like to bring Mr. Fox Crawford to the stage.
Raise your hand. Swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Please proceed.
Let's go, Mr. Crawford.
Doing good, sir.
Great. Tell us a little bit about your experience as being a black man in America.
Well, I would say that first before. I love being black, and I love being in this country. But I wish that I would not have to wake up in the morning and to think that this is my last day. Or I wish that I would not have, when I see the police car, to hold my phone.
Mr. Crawford, how do you feel to be in a restaurant, we have water pouring down your jacket, and to tell you to get out of a restaurant, you are just like anybody else, just coming and get a meal after a long day of work, just hungry, expecting a meal, and then to be put out of a restaurant, all because you're a black man.
I felt you can hear it. Like, those people not even willing to serve you with food as a black. I mean, it was humiliation.
Do you think that it's fair to be treated this way?
Absolutely not.
Why do you say that?
Because I'm a human being. Why? Because of my skin color, you don't even serve me food. And I'm willing to pay for that.
No further questions.
Could you please state your name for the record?
Absolutely perfect.
Thank you. It is your claim that you feel unsafe around black people? Is that what, well, around white people, sorry.
Unsafe?
Mhm.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So when you are around Caucasians, you tend to tense up, safe to say?
Certain degree, yes.
Okay. Do you think all crime comes from Caucasians?
Well, I would say yes for what I've seen and did see when the news what's been happening to black people.
15.8% of white victims were killed by blacks last year.
I'm not even.
And 8%, I know that's what I'm telling you, and 8.6% of black victims were killed by whites. It is a higher percentage of whites being killed by blacks than blacks being killed by whites. How do you reconcile that?
Well, I see it as a setup.
As a setup?
Yes, sir, from white people. Why would guns is so easy, or why would even drugs so easy to get around the black community? It's like a setup for them.
15% were killed by blacks. It is a higher, U.S. This is the FBI statement. So blacks are being killed at a lesser rate than whites by blacks. If you are claiming that blacks or that whites have a more hostile environment, are more violent towards blacks, this goes against what you just stated. You said that whites are more violent towards blacks, and you feel less safe around whites. In this statement, really, you should be less safe around
I
blacks.
did not say
I object, Your Honor. He said based upon the way he sees.
Based on what he sees.
Based on what he sees.
That is what
That's personal, sir.
that is what I'm directly arguing.
No.
That is
Your
what I
Honor,
am.
facts. He's stating based upon the way he sees, Your Honor.
And based on what he sees, based on these facts, I'm saying it is more factual that whites are being killed by blacks than blacks are being killed by whites. How do you feel about that?
Well, I don't know. I can tell you how I feel about seeing black people killed by police. I cannot tell you about how white feel.
Do all white people kill black people?
Say that again?
Do all white people kill black people?
Well, I've said that before from what I've seen in the TV on the news. I would say yes.
Okay, so then to say that, if you cannot confidently say that all whites are violent, then it is hard to say that all whites are violent.
I would not say that.
Thank you. No further questions.
Mr. Murphy, you may have a seat.
Okay, so the prosecution, I'd like to call our last witness in the person of Mr. Jordan Thompson.
Yes, ma'am. Swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Please proceed.
Mr. Thompson, on the screen, I think your view is impaired. On the screen is a statistic chart from the Bureau of Justice Statistics that shows the rate of being arrested is deadlier for African Americans. And it says that by homicide is 3.4% higher than that of white counterparts. And the list goes on and on: suicide, intoxication, accident, natural causes, and unknown. This statistic shows that an African American being arrested is more likely to die than that of their white counterparts. So how are you, as an African American, to feel knowing that at any chance you're being arrested? Let me ask you a question. Mr. Thompson, have you ever been arrested?
Once.
Okay. You've been arrested once. So how do you feel knowing that that one time you were arrested, there was a possibility that you could die just because of the color of your skin?
It's a nightmare. It's a total nightmare.
A nightmare. A total nightmare. What are you to say to this claim that because you could possibly wear a hoodie or baggy pants, that because of your appearance, because it matches those that commit crimes that are not you, by definition, that is considered racial profiling? How do you feel that the fact that you just want to wear your hoodie because it's 40 degrees outside, you just want to wear your hoodie, that you can be killed, you can be racially profiled, and if you're arrested, you can die? How do you now live in America knowing that reality?
I feel. That's what you asked?
Yeah, knowing that reality.
It's the same question. It's a nightmare. Why? You gonna stereotype me because of what I have on and how I look? Every day I walk out, I dress the same way, so you feel intimidated by the next person because you don't understand how that person lives. The person could save your life, or you want to stereotype it.
Terrified. nightmares. Your witness.
Could you please state your first and last name for the court again?
Jordan Thompson.
Mr. Thompson.
Mr. Jones, would you speak now? Jordan Thompson.
Mr. Thompson, could you please tell the court what you were arrested for?
Possession.
Possession. Who gave you that possession?
I did.
Your Honor, we object. My client's background and arrest record is not in question on trial. As a matter of fact, I think, it's unbecoming for the defense to bring up a matter that's already been before the courts and dealt with.
Your Honor,
Overruled.
Your Honor, he brought up the fact that his client was arrested one time. The can has been opened. You had possession. Who gave you the possession?
I did.
You gave yourself the drugs to sell to who? Someone in your community. Correct?
No comment.
Mr. Jones, would you please cooperate with the counsel?
Someone in your community, correct?
Your Honor, again, my client is not on trial.
He's a weed seller!
Silence.
My client is not on trial for a previous matter.
He said that no!
The court, we are not here to talk about his priors. It is an insult.
Your Honor, he brought up the fact that his client was arrested, and it matters in this case. Please answer the question. Did you sell it to anyone in your community?
Is this an ethical case or are we talking about?
Mr. Jones, would you please cooperate?
Answer the question.
Your Honor, may we approach the bench?
You may.
Could you please answer the question? Did you sell the possession to anyone, any member of your community? Okay. By commission, he admitted that he sold it to someone in his community. And in your opening statement, we're here because you say that the white race is put on trial for hate crimes. Just to give you a release from the FBI, Mr. Thompson, did you realize that 26.1% of those hate crimes just in 2016 were from African Americans? Did you realize that?
No, I didn't.
Okay, so if we didn't commit all of the crimes, what are we here for?
Turn on the news. Turn on every news channel that you see on TV and you walk outside and you hear the statistics that's running around. I think what you're talking about is false. I think it's the other way.
So the FBI releases a statement and it's false?
Your Honor, we object. Does the defense know the definition of hate crime? It is a crime that is motivated by racial, sexual, or other prejudice. How is selling drugs racially motivated or prejudiciously motivated? Explain that to me if you want to use the definition of hate crime.
I'm just talking about what goes on in his community.
What goes on in my community every day.
What else goes on in your community besides you selling drugs to your community? Not us bringing in these drugs and doing these things to you, because apparently these drugs and these things, it stirs up this frenzy of us giving you drugs, and then your communities are now in shambles. This is what you did to your own people. Is it loving to give someone drugs?
No, it isn't. But when you don't give us no opportunity where I come from, where I'm born and raised at, that's the only thing we have to do in order to make ends meet. In order for us to feed our family and kids.
What do you do for a living now?
I work at UPS.
You work at UPS. So it sounds like you took life by the hand and you decided to walk on and do what you had to do to make a living for yourself, right?
Wasn't easy.
It was, but you did what you had to do, correct? Did my clients make you go to FedEx? So you decided to do this, right?
I chose to take that direction.
You chose to take that direction. Did you also realize that you also chose to take the direction of selling drugs to cause yourself to be in a predicament? It's our fault, let me guess.
Okay. Let me answer this the best way. Where I come from, in the city of Detroit, there is no opportunities. And if there is opportunities, it takes a whole lot of steps and process to even get to that point.
Do you feel like that my clients have
At
to
the
take
end
the
of the
steps and
day,
process to
at the
get
end
their
of
jobs?
the day, we are left with the short end of the stick. We do what we can to survive and have food on our table.
This short end of the stick, are you claiming that to be FedEx? Do white people work at FedEx? Do Asian people work at FedEx? Do Indian people work at FedEx? Excuse me?
Every race you can think of work at FedEx.
So they all have a short end of the stick.
Your Honor, we object, because the defense argument working at UPS suggests that they are short on the stick. My client is speaking specific of him and his race, not Asians, not Indians. His race.
So we talking about my case again, because I could have sworn it was driving.
Your Honor, it just seems like we have someone before us that has put themselves in a situation, but you're blaming my clients for something that you've done.
Because it's something they didn't want to accomplish. Can't put that on me.
It sounds like you've blamed my clients for something that you've done on your own. And we're in court today for what again? No one put drugs in your hands. You, by your own commission, said that you were going to sell drugs to your own people in your own community. What about the way your people kill your own people? This black on black crime. This whole from my hood, where I live from. Doesn't sound like my clients did any of this. It sounds like you all have made a decision to be some gangsters and to live a life that no one told you to live.
Gangster.
Yes, sir.
That's what you thought. Gangster.
Please elaborate on a different phrase.
You know what gangster is? Have you ever read the definition of what gangster is?
Would you please allow the court to know? Because I don't know. Enlighten us, please.
Your Honor, can I share something with the court? I want to show you in your defense what gangster is. What gangster is being self-motivated. It's your ambition. It's your intuition. It's handling your business and not worrying about the other side. What gangster is education, real education, business, pursuing whatever opportunity that's coming into place, doing what you need to do and not doing what you have to do. So y'all want to talk about what gangster is? Gangster is having a solid heart with a solid mindset, having a solid confidence with a solid direction that will keep you dedicated. A solid plan, being consistent in what you do. Ask yourself what's gangster. It's uplifting and achieving positive vibes. Hope, faith, and believing, making real money with real people, making business moves with real corporate individuals. You don't know what gangster is because gangster is certainly not materialistic, and it doggone show ain't these gimmicks that you display on these people. You don't ask yourself what gangster is, do you? What gangster is defining who you really are. It's your therapeutic ways to cope with all the pain that you suffer. What gangster is respect for self and respect for others. Understanding morals and principles, and not to mention understanding what their morals and principles are. What gangster is
is real. Remembering everybody isn't loyal. Now you want to sit here and you want to bash me. And you want to sit here and redefine what I did in the past. My past did not dictate what I got going on right now. Because my past is what makes me stronger right now. With all due respect, with the defense of the court. Y'all throw around this gangster word like it's a toy. It's not a toy. Before y'all sit up here and start throwing these words at us individuals who go through these oppressed situations only to get to the same level that y'all are in, y'all start learning how we are. Learn what we go through. Learn the struggles. Because where I come from, at 26 years old, some of my friends never made it alive at this point. Every day I work, I wake up, I feed my mother, I feed my children. And every time I walk out the doggone house, I gotta worry about a white person pulling me over. A white person looking at me sideways. A white person trying to run me over every time I punch the clock in when I work at my job at UPS. But you want to throw this gangster word like I'm supposed to be scared. This doesn't scare me, with all due respect. So with all due respect to the people of the court and to you, Your Honor, you should understand what gangster is, man.
Mr. Thompson, I'm not interested in being a gangster. No further questions.